Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm so glad that you guys are here today. This is going to be a really fun little jam-packed hour of inspiration and lots of talk about food and really just some good practical ways that you guys can start to simplify your life and how you're thinking about food and starting to cultivate a much better and joyful and happier mentality with food. So if you're just signing in, if you've never done a webinar with me before, or you've never done a webinar in general before, it's all cool. I'm so happy to have you guys here. So if you have questions, if you're here and logging in, just come on over to the chat box, if you can find the chat box, and just type your name and come say hi. You can tell me where you're listening in from, whether it's your car, on the phone, are you at work, are you, whatever you're doing. I kind of just want to know. I love knowing who's here. So just say hi. Makes me feel like I'm not alone. I'm like just talking to myself. So just to check that everything's working too, we always want to make sure the tech stuff is working out for sure. So if you're just joining us today, come on over to the chat box and just say hi. Just let me know you're here. Let me know where you're joining from today if you want, things you want to learn today. It's just great to see everybody. Okay. Can you guys type something? I don't see anything yet coming in. Oh, there we go. Okay, there you guys are. I also just want to check and see that you guys can see the slides. Can you see the slides? It should say how to eat and be healthier without trying so freaking hard. Let me know if you can just see the slides. I'm just going to give another minute or two. We have a lot of people logging in, joining in right now. If you're just popping on the call, just come over to the chat box and say hi. This is going to be the best place if you guys have questions that come up at any point in this little workshop to just like type your questions in the chat box, and at the very end I'm going to leave some time to go back through and answer your questions. So if you think of something you don't want to forget, put it in there. If I don't see it, feel free to type it in again. Okay, good. Okay, good. This is so fun seeing where everyone's calling in from. So thank you for joining me today. I'm so happy to have you guys here. Welcome to this little midday inspirational session and free workshop. I know that you guys are all busy people, and I want to make sure this is more than worth your time. So if you're just logging in, tell me you can see the slide. Should be the title slide, How to Eat and Be Healthier. Yes, we can all see. We're all here. We can all hear. Okay, amazing. So just a few things to know. I know you guys are super busy, and I really, really want to make this super valuable for you, that in honoring the fact that you're here today or listening in the next couple days. So just a few things to know. This is going to be a 1-hour webinar. It's like really packed full of so many tips and takeaways. So you might want to grab a pen and paper, maybe turn off your phone. I know I get super distracted sometimes, but a lot of times there's something to be said about actually writing some things down so that you can start to implement this stuff in your real daily life. You know, especially close your door, put your phone away, close out other browsers. That's going to help you be able to see the slides like clearly, quickly. It'll prevent you from getting kicked off or booted out. So just a really good idea before we start. And then of course, if you do have questions, make sure you just come, pop on over to the chat box and you can type them in at any time, and I'll be checking them mostly at the very, very end, just to kind of clarify some things, or if you guys have questions, and I'll also kind of be asking for your little feedback along the way. So what you're going to learn in this webinar workshop is going to be pretty juicy. For lack of a better word. So the things we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about 3 rules to simplify food it's forever going to change your life. The 3 biggest mistakes so-called healthy eaters make that totally sabotage their progress. And these are things I see people do all the time. People that are actually pretty well educated about food, but 3 really, really big mistakes I see. So to help you prevent from doing the same. And we're going to talk about the #1 way to just weed through all that food noise and the confusion and all the clutter, so you can really get clear once and for all about what you want to pay attention to and what to actually that you can ignore. So Before we get started, I just wanted to share a little bit more about me. If you've just started following Simply Real Health, you may have seen my work featured in a number of different places. So I'm also a nutritionist, a healthy lifestyle expert, a real food lover. Finally, I can finally say that at this point in my life. And the owner of Simply Real Health, which is a blog, a book, and a healthy lifestyle company that I created to help people live a healthier life made simple. My mission at Simply Real Health is to educate, to teach, and to inspire others to take action in their lives, however big or small, and bring clarity and a simplicity to food so that more people can be the healthiest, happiest version of themselves. Because when that happens, they can give their gifts better to others and truly to the rest of the world. Food is that big and that important to a life that has so much more meaning and depth and energy and joy. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here today to invest your time and yourself into learning more about food and how to make healthy living less complicated, less confusing, less crazy, and way more doable in daily life. That's really the goal. Because I honestly think, and I know and believe that everything else elevates in life when you're able to do this. And you being here shows me that, and that really is so inspiring for me to see so many of you here, like investing and learning and growing and just kind of being your best self. And I know that you're all here today, you're all coming from slightly different places in your own journey to kind of figure this stuff out so that you can get on with your life, right? I get it. It can be like such a crazy journey for sure. So I hope this hour and this time together will start to give you a little bit more of that clarity. So before we jump in, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about my own personal story with food. So food and being healthy has always been like a huge part of my life. Even from a really young age, I read every nutrition book and diet book for fun. And I even started working out, I think, when I was like probably 12 years old. So some of you may think like, oh, lucky for you. That must be nice. You always just liked healthy stuff. But I will tell you, this is how it really was. I was just using myself as like an experiment, like my own little test case. I was always trying new things and trying to come up with the perfect, ideal way to eat. Although, honestly, it wasn't long, probably like early high school, that my so-called healthy eating and curiosity started to become not really healthy at all and actually kind of rigid and crazy, according to like whatever diet or theory I was following at the time. So, it wasn't a full-blown eating disorder, but it was just very disordered eating. Like I lived on balance bars because I thought they had a lot of great protein grams, and Kashi Go Lean cereal because it had lots of high fiber and protein. And I would drink tons of soy milk because, for a while I was like vegan and vegetarian and reading that, regular milk was really bad for you and thinking about cholesterol and thinking about fat. And I was eating all the healthier snacks I could get my hands on. Like, I mean, do you remember those like Snackwell fat-free cookies? Like, yeah, those are my jam. Anything that was like, fat-free, low calorie, reduced fat, like anything that was sort of targeted, to dieters, especially at that time, that was like totally my jam. But everything like, even back then, everything was changing all the time. And it was actually really hard to keep up with all the new studies and fads, like just inundated. It seemed like they kind of changed weekly. So I just became like obsessed with it. I started to put in so much effort, so much time, and so much money to be and feel healthier, like truly to try and live at my fullest potential, I guess. But yet I almost like just felt worse because nothing really ever changed about me, like about my body, about, my sugar cravings, like nothing really changed. And I feel like so many people around me could just not pay attention to anything and they were totally fine, not affected. They never gained weight. They never like anything. And I was putting in so much time and I just was not seeing any results. It was just super frustrating. So I did what any like sane teenager would do and just tried harder. I would be more strict and more crazy about it. And all in all, I had actually a very terrible relationship to food, but I didn't even know it. So, okay, these pictures, super embarrassing. The one on the left over there, yeah, I know. I can't believe I put that in there, but there you go. There's your like special bonus, I guess, for showing up today. You get all the weird pictures I'd probably never show anybody. So all of this like change, I really had this very negative relationship to food all through high school, all through college. It consumed like most of my waking thoughts, like before I could go out to eat with friends, or, you know, when I was like going over dinner to other people's houses, or just like nothing was like good enough or healthy enough. And I became like totally obsessed, spending so much time thinking about this stuff. But all of that changed after traveling and living abroad in Italy my junior year of college. So that's where that picture is on the left. That's me right then, a little more round, you know, you could say. So this is a trip. And like at that time, even in that picture, I was like obsessed with running every day, obsessed with working out, obsessed with what I was putting in my mouth. Like it was crazy. But looking at that picture, I'm like, I don't look like a tiny little twig, you know? I don't look like I was like this fitness model. I mean, I look healthy and normal, but not, you know, not in like relation to the amount of time and effort and energy that I was really putting into this. So maybe some of you feel the same. I don't know. If you feel the same, let me know. Just type it in the chat box. Does anybody relate to this at all, or having like times in your life where you felt just sort of crazy, like maybe out of control, you're putting in so much effort, but it seems like misdirected, right? I want to know. Okay. So this trip to Italy, I almost didn't take because I was for sure convinced that I would just get fat. Like I had talked to older girls that had gone and they were like, oh my God, it's the best, right? Like it's pizza and pasta and there's wine and gelato. And in my head, I was like, oh my God, pizza and pasta and wine and gelato. Like I'm going to get so fat, right? Like no, there's no healthy food. There's no balance bars there. They didn't even have gyms, right? I knew it would be just like this uphill and daily battle, just not to gain weight. So I almost didn't go on the trip. True story. So, but when I was over there, I started to notice something. Like I started like paying a little bit closer attention to the Italian women over there, because if they were not working out and they did not like own Lululemons, did not have Nikes, nobody was running, there was no gyms. It was just like a totally different way of life. But like they were these just like amazing women. They were so put together and beautiful. And I would sort of watch them like as they were eating with their pasta and their glass of wine, and they were just like calmly enjoying their food. And it would be like, you know, that they'd have some salad and they'd have some pasta or a little bit of pizza. But truly, like the thing that struck me the most was that they did not have like that crazy look in their eyes. You know what I mean? Like the crazy American lady way of being like, I'm counting my calories. I'm, you know, watching my carbs. Oh, waiter, will you just take away half this plate for me so I only eat this small amount? Like they did not do that. And I remember sitting, you know, they'd be laughing and actually talking with their friends, like slowly eating and enjoying every bite. They never looked deprived of anything. They never looked like they were counting anything in their head. And they were definitely like not monitoring how guilty or not guilty they felt about the food choices that they were making in front of them. And I remember sitting there and thinking like, oh my gosh, like I don't think I have ever had a meal like that in my life that I can remember. Like, what would that be like to be so like calm and collected and just really like peaceful in this beautiful way about food? And I like then made it my mission to like sort of try and test and figure it out. Like, what was the difference? How was it so different over there than here? And I came to the conclusion, like when I came home, you know, after finally giving in, you know, to their way of eating and life and living, that I became totally obsessed with trying to figure out the differences between our food here and their food there. Because to me, that was the most obvious difference. I was like, started thinking about, you know, I started like reading, like even in the first couple of months, and just testing and trying things on my own. And like what I started to learn was really crazy. So the Italians and actually most other countries in the world exist on real food and unprocessed food. And they actually don't have a lot of the diet food and the processed food. They don't have like a lot of the fitness influence and the marketing that we do around food. And so I started to like read a little bit more into this. Like, what is this thing about like just unprocessed food, and how are they all like seemingly so healthy and calm and joyful? And they really have grown up with this mentality, where for most of us in the US, we grew up with kind of the opposite, which is a much more like chaotic environment. We get our information from all kinds of different places, like more about that later. But I like, as I started like learning about this and like trying to figure out the differences, I like really found out like everything that I thought that I was doing right turned out to be wrong. And after going back to school for nutrition and working in the field for a few years, I became even more drawn to real food. And I kind of slowly made the transition to eating all real food, instead of the way I was sort of looking at food before, which was whatever was trendy, whatever was, you know, the new fad or new study coming out. And honestly, within like 3 or 4 weeks, this crazy thing happened that like all of the things I was trying to solve before by testing and trying and doing all these different diets, like just sort of disappeared, like even within a couple weeks. Like I think, you know, like the 8 pounds or so from that trip that I was trying to lose were like kind of just gone. And so were my sugar cravings and my headaches. I used to get migraines all the time. And also my constant hunger. So my life like kind of started to take this little shift, and everything started to like make a little bit more sense. I knew that I was onto something big. I could feel it, not only with my food, but with my mentality too, and my overall happiness, my energy and my daily moods. I never realized kind of how bad I had felt before until I started to feel better. So when I started Simply Real Health, with the mission of teaching people how to live a healthier life, I, you know, wanted to do it in a way that could sort of, you know, without all the confusion and the constant barrage of diet information and fads that tended to change every few months or so. And I wanted to help people learn there's a way to eat healthier without trying so hard, that made so much more sense and was the opposite of almost everything you have probably been taught before. So my true mission, like, and even from that trip, became to educate people about what healthy food actually is, because we never ever learned that growing up, to teach them how to make it work in real life, and to inspire others to see how easy it can actually be to accomplish all of these things. So let's start with like the bigger glaring problem here, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's ever been confused and or frustrated by food. So here's the truth. The problem is that we as Americans really never learn how to eat. And I know that sounds sort of ridiculous, but like we don't. We don't learn how to eat in like normal, real, everyday life. We never get taught in like a more unbiased way how to think about food, and like actual food, not like food product or not the latest trend or fad. All we really know and all we learn are through, you know, about food is just through the lens of a specific diet or through marketing. I mean, think about it. Like, yes, you maybe like learned something in school at one point and it was about the food pyramid, which like seriously at one point was suggesting eating 9 to 11 servings of bread every day, and then like vegetables, like maybe 3 or 4. Like just doesn't actually make sense. And truly, like a lot of the ways that we've been taught and trained to think about food, even from a really early age, have had all these other influences and all these other, you know, reasons why we've been told certain things. Certain industries were funded by the government, and so that's truly what they promote and how we learn about it. So it really is like, this is the baseline problem, is that we never actually learn how to eat. So the 2 ways that we like do, I guess, learn how to eat, it's through diets, right? Which are, you know, ultimately they're created to help us, but you know, truly what they actually do is pretty much the opposite. So diets have this like good and bad, like yes and no, black and white, all these rules around food, which we really like because we're humans, and we really like direction, and we really like being told exactly what to do, because then we can follow the rules. But it can only really work for a short period of time. And And these rules are always changing, right? Like they're really hard to keep up with in real life without missing on the fun stuff too. So if you lived in a bubble, yes, you could totally live on a diet. You could, if you never had to do anything with other people, if you never had to go out to meals, if you never had to travel, if you were like in your own little world, you could maybe live on a diet. It would be sort of boring, maybe, but it could work. And so that's really one of the reasons why diets don't work, is that they can work for a short amount of time while you're living in a bubble and not doing the things that probably bring you so much joy and energy, to your life. But the problem with that is that we really go through these swings with it, of being really, really good, being perfect on our diet, and then something comes up. Something always comes up. Like it could be, happy hour with coworkers. It could be that it's your birthday or somebody in your family's birthday, or that you have this dinner, or you're going on a trip, or, so many different reasons to be like, oh, maybe I want to have a glass of wine tonight, or I really want to have a piece of that cake. Like it's my birthday. And like all of these other reasons and occasions and ways that like food is used to celebrate these bigger moments and the small little moments in life. And being on a diet that is a little bit more rigid or forces you to kind of put yourself in like, yes, I'm being good with food today, or no, I'm being bad, really ultimately like creates a very negative relationship to food. And it creates this like wild swing between being very, very good and then very, very bad. And when you swing from doing really, really well to doing bad or failing or feeling like you don't have any willpower because you wanted to enjoy, one of the good parts of life, that it's sort of just like, when you're swinging back and forth all the time, it just creates this very negative relationship to food of like, oh, okay, well, I already screwed up. I already messed up. So, maybe I'll just like restart after the weekend or after this week or after this trip. And then you go from one extreme to the other of being, eating and drinking and doing things and not paying attention at all and not really caring, to then going back to the extreme of like, okay, Monday I'm going to start a juice cleanse. I'm going to start like this elimination diet and go back to being really rigid and restrictive. So the problem is that you never actually learn how to eat in like a balanced, normal, healthy gray space, like normal everyday life when things are not perfect, when you want to like love and enjoy really good food, but also feel your best too. So there is an area in between. It's just that diets don't address that, and they ultimately just create a lot of like, guilt, and it's really bad for your body and your metabolism and your blood sugar, all of the things internally, but also mentally and emotionally. Like diets can really, really just sort of muck things up, even though a lot of them are created to help and to help us get more of a sense of control and balance on it. So that's one way we learn about food. You can see why why we're so crazy, right? So we learn about food through diets. Like this is really good, or this is really bad. This is mistake number one that I see people make all the time, talking about like the 3 mistakes that really sort of like can mess people up, is like thinking about food in this all or nothing mentality, that you're either really, really healthy or you're really not paying attention at all. So just something to kind of catch yourself with if you feel like that has ever happened to you, with a different diet, plan, program, that kind of thing. So the other way that we learn about food is through marketing. So this is what I would define as what we learn from media of all kinds. So books, magazines, documentaries, talk shows, Pinterest, Instagram, about what to eat. Could be like what Dr. Oz is talking about, or even different categories of like diets, paleo or vegan or vegetarian. They're, usually based on like the latest studies that keep changing, which are, tend to be more like the fad diets. So the biggest way I think you can kind of tell whether something is part of a diet, sort of mantra, or if it's part of marketing, is that starting to learn these things called like buzzwords. And like buzzwords are like the number one way to tell if what you're eating is being marketed to you or not. So there are these words that like, they're almost just like like shouting. Like imagine walking down the cereal aisle of the grocery store and like what you see probably feels a little like shouting. Like you're like, oh, this one says fat free, and this one says low calorie, and this one says, you know, low fat and high fiber, and now with vitamins A, C, E, and D. And this one says 3 servings of fruit, and this one says it has 100% whole grain, and this one says it's organic. You know, high protein, gluten-free, low sodium, like all of these words, right? That the truth of the matter is that anything can be said on the front of a label. That's just all marketing. It's all open for marketing. But by law, food, like if it does have a package on it, must have the nutrition facts and ingredients listed. So the thing that is so fascinating about this is that we learn and grow up that like marketing is the truth. And like whatever it says on the front of the label, we take it like it actually does. And the sort of scary thing to realize is that it's not necessarily true. They can say pretty much anything they want. Food companies can put anything they want on the front of the label, anything that's attention grabbing, anything that's a buzzword to sort of make you pay attention. And they're the words that are sort of like ingrained deeply, like in the crevices of your brain, where you're like, somewhere I've heard like, oh yeah, high fiber, I need more fiber. Or somewhere you've heard like, oh, I need more omega-3 fatty acids. This says it has omega-3 fatty acids in these eggs. So like they kind of like sneak up on us where you're like, yeah, that's a good thing. I've heard of that, read that, you know, something in the general media has like told me to pay attention to that. However, it's not always like the best way, and it's definitely not always the most truthful way to look at your food. So the result here is that we kind of end up missing a lot. And we miss this like clarity and freedom and happiness with food when we're so concerned about all of the different components and all of the different things that it like brags about. We are like endlessly chasing the latest fad. We're lost, we're confused, tired, frustrated, like spending so much money, so much time, like we don't really get very many results. I mean, maybe some of you have gotten results, but I would just guess over time, over the course of your life, you're not really seeing that much result out of following this sort of like way that's carved out for us to think about food. So it can create really bad relationships to food, a lot of guilt, low energy, low function, and just kind of feeling so all the time. So the thing I think that's missing is like this clarity and freedom and happiness with food. It can exist, but not in the way that we learn about food right now. Like it requires kind of a total shift in your thinking. And the really good news is that it doesn't have to be like this. All you need to do is learn how to eat, how to like actually solve that first problem that we're talking about. And it's actually really simple, even without relying on like the things that the diets or different marketing are telling you. So that's what I really want to jump in with today, or like, how do you know, how can you tell, what are like some really good filters you can apply, and like sort of like guiding principles to be like, is this actually healthy, or is this like, am I just falling for different marketing, or is my brain programmed in a way to think this is more healthy than maybe it actually is? So that's what I want to jump in today with. Okay, so I'm going to give you the really quick rundown here of how to start thinking about this in a way that's just going to encourage a much better relationship to food, and a much, that sense of clarity and that sense of like purpose and that sense of like, yes, this is actually food that can help me, or like, no, maybe I've been falling for this for a long time. And it's a really good way to just kind of like catch and see where you're at in your own journey with food. So overall, high level, there are 3 different types of food. There is real food, which I'll talk about more in a second. There is processed food. And then there is what I call processed health food. Those are like the 3 different types of food. And I'm talking about anything out there, right, in modern day. So real food is food that has really existed since the 1900s. It's foods that grow from the ground or they come from some animal, right? And probably it's more natural state. It's the most basic, natural, normal, simple, and the most beautiful foods in the world. Real food is pretty much the same across all countries and all different cultures. And it's just like food that, it's in its most original state or as close to it as possible. So as you can kind of like see in the pictures, right? It's obviously like fruits and veggies, but like think about it like this. When you're looking at your plate, it should be one word, right? You're like, what are you eating? Chicken. What are you eating? Broccoli. What are you eating? Like potatoes or steak or, a sweet potato. I guess that's 2 words, but like banana. For the most part, it's so straightforward. Like even kids can recognize it. It's not super complicated. It's not necessarily like the sexiest food with like the prettiest, fanciest label. It's usually just pretty basic, right? And that even people who don't have massive grocery stores like we do, they usually have like a farm or neighbors or food they can grow that is pretty much the same thing as what we can get in the store. And like I said, kids can recognize it. It's pretty like universally accepted, all the different types of what, real food actually is, and is very widely available to most people. Does anybody have questions on this so far? If you guys are here, let me know. No? Okay. You just let me know. So that's real food, okay? The second category of food is processed food. And this is what I would just define as like junk food, kind of crap food. I call it gas station food. So this is like the Cheetos, the Oreos, the snack foods, the packaged cookies, like the low calorie packs, Chips Ahoy, candy. Like it's things that we eat because we like the taste of it, like we think it tastes good or it's a treat or we're actually totally addicted to it, which is a real thing. This is a true thing. You can become very addicted to processed food because of all the chemicals that are in it. And just like a fun side fact, there are these things that are manufactured in food labs, and they're called super flavors. You guys can Google this if you want. They're called super flavors, and they are like chemicals that literally coat your taste buds. So the only thing you can taste are things that are extra salty, extra spicy, extra sweet, extra cheesy, like AKA all the processed food, right? It's like extra spicy Doritos, extra cheesy. Like they're these things that like those flavors don't actually exist in nature on their own. They're totally just like man-made created things. But what happens is that when your taste buds are coated, you actually can't taste real food for real food. This is like, right? It starts to kind of make so much more sense. Like the only thing your taste buds register is like all of those extra flavors and things that are not real. So when you try to eat real food, like you like have some, chips or Cheez-Its, and then you tried it like, no, I'm gonna be healthy. Like, here we go, day 1 of my diet. I'm gonna have chicken and broccoli. And you're like, ew, gross. Like, this is so unsatisfying. This is so bland, so boring. Like, it's no wonder that when people start diets, they like don't get past the first couple of days. It's because there's no pleasure, there's no joy, there's no taste in their food because their taste buds are totally coated, right? Doesn't that make so much more sense? So the good news is that, you can totally uncoat your taste buds. It just requires probably about like 2 weeks of eating and transitioning to more real food instead of this like processed food. So just a little side note. It's so easy to become addicted to these things without even knowing it, right? Like even things like your taste buds, it totally matters even with your relationship to food. So the third category that I want to talk about is processed health food. And this is the category, like this is what I existed on for like most of my life. And I thought that I was doing myself a favor. These are the foods that are marketed to you as being healthy. They have all the buzzwords, but they're actually just as processed as processed foods. So this category, like honestly causes the most confusion for people. And it's like, I would say that most people and most of you that are here today, I'm going to guess that like you already know that like an apple is a better snack than Oreos, right? So I'm sort of taking out that like category of super processed food. Like I'm just going to like take that out of the running for a second because I think really where most people have the most problems, if you're like somewhat educated about food and you have this effort and desire to be healthy, the biggest problems I see are people being stuck in this processed health food category and thinking that it's real food. And so learning to distinguish between those two categories is something that will honestly like change your life. So pay attention. If you're tuning out, if you've got other browsers open, come back to me right now. This is like the one thing that I really want you to take away from this. This is going to change your life if you can kind of like listen and tune into this piece. Okay, so this processed health food is the category that like foods are literally reverse manufactured to have certain components on the label or on their nutrition facts that makes you think they're healthy. So like, it could be like, okay, we know, like food companies, we know that people are really into high fiber right now, or we know they're really into low fat, or we know they're into low carb food. So what can we do? What can we create in a lab? How do we alter? How do we change? How do we like create this sort of food product that fits within the confines of all the things we think people are looking for? And they go back, they create it in a lab, and they come out with these like processed health foods that we're like, ooh, yeah, that looks good, right? But the problem with this is that it is like the most confusing, overwhelming way to look at food is to believe the marketing and to believe like the things that are being said and touted as super healthy. And I know this is so like, you know, I'm not saying like so evil and bad, but truly like nobody is going to like teach you this. You have to learn this stuff for yourself, because the way that like our society is set up, it's disturbing and it's like maddening, and it drives me crazy, right? That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, to help people learn this stuff. But it's something that it just starts to open your eyes to like, whoa, like, I guess I can't really believe everything I hear. And what's a much better way to look at food that you don't have to go through all of these different hoops and like deciding, and how do you really know? So again, this like creates this mentality, right, of just confusion and overwhelm. We're misinformed, we're frustrated, we're wasting money. Like, this stuff is not cheap, right? You go to Whole Foods and it's not, you are spending a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort trying to be healthy, but it may be a little bit like misguided. So what to do about this, okay? This is like what I really want you to start thinking about this. So the truth here, and the thing that will change your life, is you want to start to identify real food versus processed health food, okay? This is the key, really. Thinking about this. And there's really only one way to tell. The one way to tell, differentiating like, is this actually healthy or just marketed to me as being healthy, is to read the ingredient label. So real food is going to have almost no label on it at all, because the foods are so simple. Again, it's like the one word foods that everybody can recognize. It's pure, simple, natural, normal. So it's like, you know, even thinking about foods that don't have a label at all, because it would be a really dumb label. Like, you don't see like apples in the store and it has an ingredient label, because it would just say an apple or like a banana, or you know, like carrots. There's no label. There's no label on like a piece of steak or a piece of fish, or even like eggs, right? But like, these are the most nutrient dense foods that we have, the foods that are going to provide the most for you, that are like the easiest for your body to digest. This is what real food is. So it doesn't mean that you can't eat food with a label on it or packaging. I mean, I'm like the queen of like busy life, everyday girl. Like, this is not about needing to cook every single thing from scratch. This is about just becoming a more educated consumer. So just start to read the ingredient label, and you're looking for the same thing as what you would in real food. Basically, a bunch of one words that you recognize, so that it's simple, that like a 7-year-old could pronounce it, that you could make it at home if you had, you know, all the time in the world, or you would know where to buy all the ingredients in the grocery store if you were going to make that thing. So like, if you had a recipe, could you make that same sort of thing? Would you know like where to find the ingredients? And if not, then that would be a really good sign of like, I can't pronounce that. Or where would I buy that in a grocery store? I have no idea. Those are usually clues, like when you can't pronounce, when you don't recognize, when there are a million ingredients and you're like, whoa, I don't have the time to read all this. Like, just put it back. That's like a sign that's probably not even close to real food. No matter if it says it's the healthiest thing in the world on the front of the label, what matters is actually what's in it and looking at the actual ingredients. Does that make sense, you guys? Let me know if you're with me. Give me a hey. Give me a I'm still here. Does this make sense? Do you guys already do this? I want to know. Okay. Cool. Yes, this is the chicken chili verde, of course, from the cookbooks. I love it. Okay, so just to kind of help you like a little bit more of like what you're going to actually be looking at, here are like the 12 categories of real food. So even within these categories, there can be like, 12 different types of this food. So it's not, you're not only eating 12 foods only for the rest of your life. This is like all of the categories, right? So real categories could be fruit, vegetables, beans and legumes, nuts and seeds, dairy, there's eggs, there's grains, there's meat, there's poultry, seafood and fish, there's healthy fats, which would be unrefined coconut oil, grass-fed butter, and olive oil, organic extra virgin olive oil, and then natural sweeteners. So that includes like organic maple syrup, and you want to get the unrefined kind, and honey and blackstrap molasses. Everything other than that, like especially sweeteners and with oils and fats, like I just wouldn't go there. Anything that sounds to be too good to be true, like 0 calorie, or like that you can have all the good but without any of the guilt, like those are usually kind of red flags to be like, something may be a little weird there, a little off. So this is, this kind of incorporates like everything that real food is. And like I said, there's like 35 different types of whole grains, and there's like 18 different types of meat, right? So this is something that it's just really good to kind of learn what the general categories are so that you can just better identify it, whether you're out at a restaurant, whether you're cooking food at home, whether you're looking at labels. Like this is like part of the basic education that I think every single person needs to know, and to know how to navigate and know how to really build your filter up to be like, is this real and healthy, or is this like processed health food that's just trying to convince me that it's so healthy for me? There's a huge, huge difference here. So, okay, I know what you guys are thinking. And that's like, wait, so you can just eat like however much of real food you want and you don't have to worry about calories. Like what about the quantity? What about fat? What about protein, carbs? Like, and here's mistake number 2. What I always see people make is like that you're still counting and you're still measuring and you're trying to turn real food into a diet. But the thing is that calories, or whatever else you're looking at, like fat grams, protein grams, carb counts, they don't matter. And I say that with like the most love in the world, coming from somebody who had a terrible relationship to food and spent most of my life counting and measuring and thinking and being obsessed with food, that like truly what matters more than anything else is like the quality of your food. Because when you think about the quality of your food, it means that your body can actually digest it and actually use it, because it's something that your body has been digesting for like years. And you think about genetically, we're like genetically designed to digest real food, not calories. Our body does not, it's so much more complicated than just calories in, calories out, or stay under this number of fat grams or protein grams or carb grams. Like our body like is affected by food in so many different ways. Like our blood sugar is affected, our hormones are affected. It is like just our taste buds are affected. Like your body is affected with every system that it has. Your nervous system, your circulatory system is affected by the food that you're eating. And it's not as easy as just like a robot, like calories in and then calories out. It just is not as simple as that we are so much more like beautifully complicated than that. And so really starting to shift your view of like, it's the quality of your food that is going to matter more than anything else, more than counting, measuring, anything, because that is the thing that's going to help your body self-regulate. It's going to help get it better vitamins and minerals and nutrients so it can actually stabilize and start to run better. And when that starts to happen, like that's when like the shift in like your hunger and your cravings and all of that other stuff starts to happen once you first take that initial step and like more of like a commitment of like, okay, I'm going to focus on the quality of my food. I want nutrient dense food. I want things that are going to, you know, provide me with something and give me something and be really easy for my body to break down, instead of approaching it the backwards way, which is like, okay, if I'm a robot, I need this many, this to this. Like it just doesn't work like that. And it makes you crazy. Speaking from personal experience, of course. So you know, like I was saying, it's, your body knows what to do with real food. So you might as well be kinder to it. And you will see like almost this like immediate uptake in energy and your mood and your sleep and your blood sugar, and just everything starts to settle out, and you can kind of really take this much more higher level approach to what you're eating and doing. And all of that truly like translates into a much calmer, happier, like more peaceful relationship to food, right? Without all the crazy, without all these like endless diets and all the endless fads and getting tangled up in that, of just starting to come down and have a little bit more like wisdom with your food. So that's a really, really like huge piece of this. And you know, when you feed your body better and you're actually fueling it, you just do feel so much better. Like I said before, like I almost didn't even know how like bad I felt until I started feeling better. Until I started eating real food. I'm like, oh, I guess that other way was like not so normal to be like needing so much coffee in the morning and, you know, like being hungry all the time. Like truly like this way of feeling and being, energy, digestion and sleep and skin and your mood and your productivity, like this is normal, not the other way around. So mistake number 3 that I see people make is like along these lines, is that thinking that it's all just only about the food, but it's also your relationship to it and your mentality towards it too that matters. You could eat perfectly real food or perfectly on your diet, but still overeat and be totally out of tune with your body. You could make real food in some sense like a diet and be measuring and counting, or you could, you know, be eating the same foods over and over again, you know, and just really sort of rigid in your mentality. But long term, your lifestyle won't change for good until you can start to think about this piece of like, how's your relationship to food, to it? Or is it consuming all of your thoughts? Is it consuming all of your time? Do you feel like you can't do the things in life that you know, the foods that bring you joy or the drinks that bring you joy, or the experiences in life? So I just want to encourage you to like, maybe take a step back and try to think about this land of gray a little bit more, of like not being so rule bound, but more kind of like starting to feed your body better by thinking about quality of food. So 3 rules that are really going to help you simplify no matter what you do. I really want you to do these things this week. Okay. So, really like put this into action for yourself. You're here, like make this count. So what I want you to do starting this week, starting today, starting right after this call, is to read every ingredient label, everything you can get your hands on. Even if you still decide to eat it, I just want you to start like educating yourself about what is in food. What are the things you're looking at thinking are actually healthy, but when you look at it this way, you're like, wait, what? This is crazy, okay? Second rule is that quality and simplicity of food is more important than anything else. And the third rule is just to start to tune in, right? So I know that this is like a lot of information. So this is like, these are the things that are going to start changing how you feel today and even as early like into next week, right? Of like reading your labels, thinking about quality, and actually start to tune into how you're feeling after you eat certain things and why. So you are here today, right? And like we are all different at different points along this journey of being able to figure this out. Like for some of you, what I said may be totally like overwhelmed. Like you're like, oh my gosh, this is so different than what I'm doing now. I'm still eating the Kashi cereal. Saw your comment. I'm still eating that in the morning. Like I'm still drinking non-fat milk and non-fat yogurt and like eating oatmeal every day. And you know, for this may be enough. And you're like, okay, I got my assignment. I got my work to do, right? Some of you, like, this is maybe more so like the middle of your journey where you kind of consider yourself more of a work in progress and like, you know, some things, but also there's some things that you know you're not fully dialed in on. And then for some of you, like you could be, you know, feeling like pretty good and grounded in what you know and that it's working for you most of the time, but you're always kind of open to learning more and kind of growing, especially in this, like having a better relationship to food and truly being, you know, dialed in. So the thing that I've seen like over and over, no matter where you are in your journey, is that you have to take action. Like taking action on this topic and doing this for yourself in your own life. Like nobody is going to do this for you. And like sad, I guess. Yeah, I wish that was the case, right? That somebody could just do this for you and that you never had to think about it. You never had to do any work, but we just don't grow up in the environment like that. And I hope that that changes one day. But for right now, it's not. And you need to like take some actual action and steps to ensure that you really like are going in the right direction and you have a healthy mentality that's going to permeate everything else in your life. So this is the like tough love in me side telling you this. Like you are here today because there's something in you that wants a better way. I'm just guessing to learn and to get this stuff dialed in. And this is your responsibility to take charge and learn this stuff. Because if you rely on the default way of being and living in this world, the only way we learn about food is through the diet lens or through the marketing lens, both of which have their own agendas behind it. And it really isn't a true accurate picture of what you need to know. And learning about food in this unbiased way is a life skill that actually like changes everything. It's the most like worth it thing that you can do for yourself, to actually take the time to learn and get the details of real food right so that you can apply it anywhere, no matter where you are for the rest of your life. It's really like an investment in your future and the amount of things that are connected and that affects like what you're choosing to fuel yourself with your mental thoughts and with your actual food. It's crazy. So it's like it affects everything, your work, your relationships, your energy, your body, and your mind. And the truth truly is that it's like, you know, understanding these things that you can take anywhere. You have to actively invest in yourself and your future and your daily life, because food isn't going anywhere. Like life revolves around it, so we have to figure out a better way to learn about it and to deal with it better and actually address the problem like head on, instead of being like thrown every direction the wind blows, like when a new study comes out. And you could like, you know, you could just get lost for years, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, trying to figure it out, or like doing these successions of short-term plans and diets. So there's two ways I think that you can go really like about this process for yourself. There's the long way, and then there's like the condensed way. And trust me, I know this from experience. Like the dream really is to be empowered by your food and not to let it have power over you and your life. So no matter what stage you're at and like the reasons that brought you here today, I really think that honestly, like you guys are meant to be here. There was something that called you to be here in your healthy living journey, to just kind of wake you up and make you kind of check in with yourself on certain things. And it used to be like the learning about food in this way, there was like the only way that you used to be able to do it was either one, like invest 1,000,000 hours trying to read and learn and test things on your own, or two, to like work with somebody to do it privately, you know, at probably more high-end prices. And, you know, I do this and work with people like this. Or you could join like a group program. So this is, you know, and I run a group program, getting ready to do so again in later in mid-March and into April. But, you know, and group programs are not always for everybody. So for those of you that are like wanting to kind of like take this step and wanting to learn and take some action, I just want to make sure that you know that there is also another way that you can do it that is, you know, easy, and it just helps clear all the confusion around food once and for all. You learn it and you're done. And it's something I feel so passionate about, just being able to teach everybody that wants to learn this stuff, even if one-on-one coaching is not right for you, even if the group program is not right for you. I really believe that everybody deserves to know this about food and learning about food in a simplified, real life kind of way. So if you're interested in like doing this process, hacking it, doing this food thing smarter, and you feel ready to like I'm calling you out, right? You're here. There's something why you're here. I want to make sure you guys know that I have a blueprint, and it's just from all the years of one-on-one coaching and group coaching and helping people along this journey of being able to put all of this information together, like even times 20 of the things we even covered today, in like a fun and on-the-go way, because I know life is busy and I really just don't want that to be an excuse anymore as to why you haven't learned this stuff, and be able to translate it into your life with actions and assignments and things to like actually help you integrate this, to make this a part of your life. So what I did was to, you know, I created a little like food academy, and some of you may have heard about this before. Some of you may have done this before. This is like the 3-week real food masterclass school that's all online and all at your own pace, and in a way that's really going to condense everything you need to know, honestly. Everything you need to know about building your own filter, knowing how to like pick and choose and have real food, learning how to read your body a little bit better. Like, this is the place to go, and, you know, to really learn all of this stuff at a fraction of the cost of private or group coaching, and a pace you can do all at your own timeline, and to be done truly and like all learned up in like 3 weeks time. So you can clear the clutter and the noise and the confusion. And it's like this little course and like experience into total food freedom, and what that looks like to actually clear out all this confusion and clutter and crap, right? So to learn the hows and the whats and the wheres and the whys and the when of food that will never change like for the rest of your life, and learning how to navigate every real life situation with total ease, and food that is inspiring and beautiful and makes you excited and it's delicious and you want to share it with other people. Like, this is where the relationship to food has to start. It has to start here. You know, having more joy with your food in your life starts with understanding what it is and where to find it and how to keep it simple, and really learning to like let go of all the ways that we've been pre-programmed in our brain and try to like wipe it clean in some senses and start totally fresh. I think that once you're able to know this stuff, this is like you get so much more control back, and you have that knowledge and that wisdom and the power to create really like your own version of a healthy life, and whatever that looks like to you. You know, and truly like answering probably every question you've probably ever had about food and the specifics. This is like, you know, being able to do so in a way that's like a quick, like yes and no questions about it, no studies to read. You just will probably know right off the bat, like, yes, this is awesome, healthy, good choice. No, maybe not so much. Like, truly an invaluable skill, I think. So what's included in this and like kind of how it works for those of you that are interested, this is like truly like podcast learning on the go. So there's 3 weekly podcast learning sessions. You get lifetime membership into this program. So re-listen, relearning, you get little weekly assignments each week. You're getting recipes each week that are totally different from the ones in the cookbook. Very much more like seasonally based focus, like the things that I'm loving now, cooking now, and inner circle bonuses, meaning things that like you know, if I launch a meal plan, you get a little coupon code. You're kind of like in the Simply Real Health inner circle, because for those people who want to take this step, I want to encourage and surround you with as much support and advice and love and anything that you need, because you're willing to take this little step in investing in yourself, because this is really, I think, the game-changing point for most people. You get gorgeous printable handouts, all kinds of things, coffee and tea rituals, cocktail rituals, a printable grocery store map, pantry and kitchen staples, you know, how to like take your favorite things and swap them in and out, different recipes and guides for everything that you want to know. This is like a full-blown program you'll be able to have and reference for the rest of your life, and get updates too as things get updated. You get 4 private cooking videos on the 4 basic skills that you need, even if you don't feel like you know how to cook. Lifetime access to me for questions and help, an invaluable community too of people who have done this. We've had hundreds and hundreds of people go through this academy, and really, like, they offer help and snack ideas and new products they find. It's just like an amazing little special community of people that are so, you know, they see the benefits of truly being able to clear out a lot of this information. So you get private little discounts, seasonal bonuses, personal access to questions from me. The process is super easy. You just sign up online, you get the welcome email immediately and a little welcome podcast, and then you get weeks 1 podcast and recipes and handouts, assignments. 6 days later, you get week 2's podcast. You can listen to it on the go while you're cooking, while you're walking, while you're driving, anywhere. These are things that are gonna kind of like definitely shift and change your life. And people have just had a really good experience with this. So I just, you know, like all the things you can think you know, and just a really big way to kind of shift and enjoy your food more without becoming the healthy food police. And we make it fun, of course, and joyful. So if you guys are here on this call, I really want to offer like a little special bonus for you just because you're here. And for the next 48 hours, if you would like to sign up, if you feel like this is calling to you in some way, I'm going to give you 2 extra bonuses to just help encourage you. I really want to support you, honestly, and surround you with as much like goodness and inspiration as you need to make this a reality. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to drop in a free little extra week of the seasonal meal plan, and to give you a free recipe bonus guide and a 40% off code for the Simply Real Health Cookbook on Amazon, which is a great gift too if you already have the book itself. So again, I want to encourage the momentum, the reason why you're here, whatever drew you to this call today. If you feel like this is something that could definitely help and be a big shift for you, learning this stuff once and for all, I really want to make sure that I can help support and encourage and really just kind of like be a part of this journey for you. So, and if you don't, and if it's not the right fit for right now, and you'd rather maybe do the group program, or you'd rather, you know, just work your way through the cookbook, all of that is awesome. And you know where to find me on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Snapchat, Twitter, all the places. We've got daily inspiration, weekly little hits and tidbits on the blog, recipes of all kinds. So if you're not on the email list, I would encourage you to just pop on there, and you'll get some stuff sort of sprinkled into your daily life. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really, really, really appreciate you being here. I hope that this was helpful and that it serves you in some way. And please let me know what you think and the things that maybe made the biggest difference for you. And for those of you that do have a few extra minutes, I'm more than happy to hang out and chat and just kind of answer any questions that you have. So let me know if over in the chat box, if there's anything that you think is unresolved, that you still have questions on, if you have questions about anything about the program in particular. And for those of you that gotta run, gotta scoot, thank you so much. I love you guys. You're awesome, amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you got a lot out of it. Okay, any questions? Thank you, you're welcome, you guys. Let's see. Just scanning through all the chat box. So one question here is, how do you recommend cutting back on sugar? What are good substitutes? So cutting back on sugar is like, sugar can be such an addictive thing. Like, it is crazy, right? So I think truly like one of the easiest ways is to start thinking about like taking out like the added sugar to stuff and like try to just like replace it with either honey or maple syrup. whether that's like in baking or it's in, instead of getting your coffee sweetened with like vanilla or some kind of syrup, that you just do like a little whole milk latte, or you do coffee with half and half and a little bit of honey instead. So just starting to transition to some of the natural sweeteners. Honey and maple syrup are the most common. Molasses is the third. And that would be like a really good shift. That way you're not going to get as much of like the blood sugar highs and lows. You're going to get a little bit more of like the good enzymes and nutrients that are in those more natural sweeteners. So they actually have some good things to them. And then think about just doing a little bit less overall, like more meaningful and more intentional use of sweet things in your life, and not like the main event of all things. And for actually, truthfully, like a lot of people, once you start upgrading your food and eating more nutrient dense food and focusing on more real food, a lot of those like sugar cravings actually start to level out normally, because sugar cravings can really be like from an absence of minerals that you're missing or an absence of vitamins that you're missing. And as soon as you start to eat more real food, those things can be like a natural sort of balance. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Awesome. And the question is, what is the Amazon coupon code? I want to mail one to my sister. Yeah, so the 40% off coupon is if you sign up for the Food Academy. And then, so once you sign up, then you will get the coupon code in your email, and then you can send it to your sister, whoever you want, to yourself. Yeah. So, and for those of you that do want the link or are curious about that, I will send you guys an email when this is, when we're done chatting today, and just give you all the details and the link to sign up if it's something that you're curious about taking advantage of those deals, especially in the next 2 days. I want to make sure that you guys have all the resources that you need to do that. Okay, next question is, I've been wondering about yogurt and if you recommend any brands or things to look for. So yeah, so yogurt, you just want to make sure it's full fat, no non-fat, reduced fat, anything like that, and just not sweetened. Because if you want to sweeten it, you can add your own berries, you can add your own honey or maple syrup. That's something that is, you can just add that in. Whatever you add in is going to be way less than what the sweetened versions will come with. And it's usually easiest to find like whole milk Greek yogurt. So like the brand Greek Gods is really good, and Fage, Fage. You just want to make sure you read the ingredient label, not just the front of the label that looks like it's healthy Greek yogurt, but like look at the ingredients and make sure it says like whole milk Greek yogurt instead of like reduced fat or non-fat. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yes, definitely interested in the Food Academy. Love it. Yes. So I'll send you a link if you want to like come join. It's honestly like one of the most fun programs, and is just like super helpful, right? Okay, and last question that I see on here is just take on avocado oil. So I honestly just keep it simple and I stick with coconut oil and grass-fed butter for high heat because it has a much higher flash point, and then olive oil for like low heat to no heat. The thing with avocado oil is like, yes, avocado is healthy, but also, we don't know much about the flash point, and it's just, I think, a little bit safer to just keep it simple. There's always going to be new things and new like trends and new products that come out, but judging from the past, like what usually happens is new things come out, like, oh my gosh, it's so healthy, it's so good for you, and then like a couple years later, they're like, actually not. Sorry, never mind. It's actually dangerous. It's actually not this. It's actually super processed. So I would just like eat avocados straight up. Don't worry about cooking with the oil or it being so much more beneficial. I think kind of just sticking with the coconut oil, the butter, and the olive oil just keeps life, a lot more simple too, and not like chasing and buying all the new things all of the time. So it's not that it's bad for you. I just like personal take on the topic, preference, like there'll probably be some study that maybe comes out, eventually. Totally. Okay. Any other questions, you guys? Those of you that are here? I'm happy to answer anything. Does anybody have questions about the program, the Food Academy, how it runs, works? Any other questions about food itself? Okay. Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds. No. Okay, so watch for the email. I'm going to send it out to you guys in the next hour so you can take advantage of it. And you can, of course, let me know if you have any other questions too. You can always email me to hello@simplyrealhealth.com. And I'm happy to answer if you have any like personal things or you're not sure if it would work for your particular situation. I am totally happy to answer those types of things. Oh yes, one more quick question about the podcasts. And maybe if I'm anticipating the question the right way is like how you access them, how you get to them. So as soon as you register for the program, you get like a welcome email and you get like a welcome podcast, which is like it's a link. So you can listen to it at your computer. You can listen to it on your phone through the SoundCloud app. And yes, you have access to them for the rest of your life. So you can listen to them multiple times, as many times as you want. They're each about an hour in length. And that's why I did it sort of in that way, so that you don't have to be like watching a YouTube video for like an hour, like portable, on the go, listen to it, little refreshers, little reminders, little updates. So yeah, that's kind of the whole point. It's like once you're in this sort of circle, this it's like the real food like hug. This is like the Simply Real Health Club, right? Once you're in this, you kind of get access to a lot of different things, different programs when they release and come out. Like I know these are my main people, right? Because if you're willing to invest in this sort of in yourself in this way and about learning and growing, that anything else is going to be just like an added enhancement. But this is where everything starts. This is the foundation, the basics. This is like what every person I think deserves and needs to know. So yeah, it's $300 for literally for the rest of your life, forever and ever and ever. Until you get sick of my voice, I guess. Okay, thank you guys for being here today. It's been so fun. Again, let me know if you have any other questions. My email is just hello@simplyrealhealth.com. And or feedback, ideas, things you want to see next. I'm always kind of happy to do that and answer those things. Okay, love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.